are as excited maybe as you are to have this event here, and we really welcome you. Community Word Up Word Up Community Bookstore is 12 years old, and we've been here in this location for 10 years. We started as a pop-up at 175th and Broadway 12 years ago, and maybe it would last a month, maybe 2 months, nobody knew, but here we are 12 years later in a bookstore that faces out towards the community and serves this community. We're almost entirely volunteer run. We're run by a nonprofit, and we have, I think, 1, maybe 2 salaried positions, and the rest of us, and there's about 70, are volunteers. So if you're looking for a volunteer opportunity, or you know somebody who is, we would love to have that person here with us. We have not just this store, but some of you may know we also have recirculation at 160th and Riverside, about a 10-minute walk that way, right? Yes, that way. And that space is actually, they have an event going on tonight as well. It's a huge space compared to this one. And we're looking forward to hosting events in both of those spaces. Recirculation is just about entirely used books, and it is a fantastic place, especially since we haven't quite gone through all the used books there, so there may be treasures in books to find, and if that appeals to you, I recommend recirculation. We just wanted to welcome you, and afterwards we're going to have some time. Feel free to browse the bookstore, and if you put your name on our email list, we will get an email. I promise you, I think I can promise you it's not more than 1 a week. It will keep you up to date on the event, so I know. But thank you very much for being here. We're really happy to host you, and I'll turn you over to the person who's actually more in charge. I'm not sure who that is.
Actually, I'm not the person in charge. I'm introducing the person who's in charge.
Okay.
I'm going to skip that. Yep. Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Coleman, and I'm up here now to introduce Lucille Lang. It's such a pleasure to introduce the multi-talented and inspiring Lucille Lang. Lucy is the author of 4 poetry chapbooks and 7 full-length collections, most recently Birds of San Pancho and Other Poems of Place. She's also the editor of Poetry and Science, Writing Our Way to Discover, co-editor of Fire and Rain, and author of Fire and Rain, Echo Poetry of California, and read Indian Road West, Native American Poetry from California. And Lucy is the author of 2 children's books and a memoir. Her many honors include the Blue Light Poetry Prize, 2 Penn Oakland Josephine Miles Literary Awards, the Joseph Henry Jackson Award, and 11 Pushcart nominations. She's the publisher of Scarlet Tanager Books. Poetry and Science, which she edited, explores the thrilling connections between poetry and science and several women poets' poetry and lives. As Day says, poetry is a medium for communicating the ideas of science and deepening our understanding of them. I'm thrilled to introduce a woman who makes so many things happen and whom I've come to admire and consider a friend, Lucille Lang, who will introduce this evening's program.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And thank you, Word Up, for hosting this event, and thank you, all of you who are here in the audience today, both in person and online. So the title of this reading is Why Poetry Matters. And to me, a big part of why it matters is that it enables us to look deeply inside ourselves and deeply out at the world. And we might not find all the answers, but we find important questions and we come to important insights, and it facilitates dialogue about things that are very important. And the world needs dialogue. The world is a mess right now. We have war in Ukraine. We have war in Israel. We have environmental devastation going on worldwide. We have gangs taking over Haiti and large portions of Mexico. We have coups in Africa and Southeast Asia. The world needs a lot of help. And I hope that poetry can be at least a little bit of the answer of bringing us together and helping us find solutions. And so now I have the great pleasure of introducing my colleague, Elizabeth Faye Coleman, be the first poet reading tonight. Elizabeth J. Coleman is the editor of Here, Poems for the Planet, which was published by Copper Canyon Press in 2019. It's an international eco-poetry anthology with a foreword by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and an activist guide from the Union of Concerned Scientists. And I actually came into contact with Elizabeth 3 years ago. We were supposed to read together at Shakespeare and Company in New York with Patricia Brody, who's also reading tonight. And we were put together by Shakespeare and Company because Elizabeth and I had both edited eco-poetry anthologies, and Patricia contributed to my anthology. And then, of course, COVID came along and that was canceled. But Elizabeth and I stayed in touch. And we met last year at AWP in Philadelphia. And so that reading brought Elizabeth into my life, even though it didn't happen. So that was very fortunate. So now I'll tell you more about Elizabeth. She's the author of 2 poetry collections from Spite and Dibble Press, one Proof, a University of Wisconsin Press Prize finalist, and of 4 chapbooks. Her poems appear in numerous journals and anthologies, including the forthcoming Elemental series from Humans in Nature Press. And it happens that I have a poem in there too. Elizabeth's new collection was a finalist for the 2023 Cider Press and 2023 Marsh Hawk Press prizes. For many years, she was a public interest attorney, and she currently teaches mindfulness. Her avocation is classical guitar, so she is a multi-talented woman. Welcome again, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Lucy. That's so kind. So I look, the mattering of poetry has been a long star for me for a very long time. I come out of a public interest practice, and I began a new life as a poet a number of years ago. And my vision for this book, Here, Poems for the Planet, literally came to me November 8th, 2016, the night he who shall not be named was elected president. And the results came in, and I had been doing voter protection work in Ohio, and my colleagues, we were all attorneys, were crying, and something happened, and I just said, no, I'm going to choose a righteous rage rather than despair. And so I had this idea, and my idea also came from the fact that I think, in addition to the great things Lucy said about poetry, in speaking to our hearts, not just our minds, poetry can help open us up and face this difficult news and give us hope and energy and courage to face daunting problems and not turn away in fear and maybe become a little cynical because we've turned away in fear and despair. And then we can do what needs to be done to protect our planet, the biosphere, and one another, and to protect those who have been the greatest victims of climate change, which are the people who are victims in everything in the society, the people who live on the margins. And the worst climate disasters are always in the least affluent communities. And so my idea was to have this international eco-poetry anthology, to see if I could get someone very cool to do the forward, because it felt like a big idea. And I couldn't get Michelle Obama because she was doing a book, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama said yes. And then the idea of the book is that it's what I thought, I wanted people to sort of feel like this poetry is all about feeling things, feel the beauty of the earth. Then the second section is poems of what we've done, what we have wrought, what we've done to our planet. The third section is what we've done to our fellow creatures, the poems for the animals. And then we circle back towards hope with 1/5 of the collection is poems by young people. And the last section of the book is poems of hope and inspiration by adults. And then after that, if people go through the arc from sort of the beauty to the despair and back to hope, then there's an activist guide by the Union of Concerned Scientists telling people what they can do. And it's actually quite wonderful. It's 35 pages. And I think the Malaysian poet Cecil Rahendra, who's in here, said, I want the cadences of my verse to crack the carapace of indifference, prise open torpid eyelids, thick coated with silver. So the way I see it is hope and courage are strategies for change in a sense. And poetry matters in the big sense that Lucy says, in every way. As the great poet Audre Lorde said, in the forefront of our move towards change, there's only poetry to hint a possibility made real. So that is my story of here. And for the first poem I'm going to read my poem. Every poet got one poem. Even if they were like the most famous poet in the world, they got one poem. And if they were, anyway. And another thing about the book that I forgot until just now is that every poem sort of gave me a frisson. Every poem in here I put in, there are many wonderful poems I didn't put in, but the ones that I did by people gave me a frisson. So my poem is called On a Saturday in the Anthropocene. And just to remind you of a couple of things, the Anthropocene is the current geological age when human activity is the dominant influence on climate and environment. And a second fact is that birds don't perceive glass as a barrier, and they often strike glass windows that they perceive as greenery or sky. And yesterday in the Times, an article, 1,000 birds died in crashing into a Chicago building yesterday. So that gives you a sense of the scope of that. And another fact for those of people who don't live in New York, Sheepshead Bay is in Brooklyn. Those are the facts you need to know for this. On a Saturday in the Anthropocene, as I walk in the light of a two-rivered island to my post office, I mourn the last typewriter repair shop in New York going out of business. Mourn that this moves us further from letters, from connection, from writing home. I mourn that it's so warm among parrots nest in Sheepshead Bay. Lovely as that sight is. Mourn what we've done to birds. For 150 million years, they saw their reflections only in the sea. Then I notice a fire escape on a 2-century-old building, casting a soft shadow. I see words on a bicycle. I see wheels on a bicycle that, like meditation, seem to slow time. I remember gorillas stay up all night to groom their dead, and reading about a woman in Ohio who gave every building in town a new coat of paint after she was laid off. At my post office, endangered too, I avoid the self-service kiosk, wait in line for a union. A clerk waves me over with her smile, asks where I've been. She tells me about a cruise she's taken with her mother, describes the buffets, the turquoise of the ship's pool. What's your name? I've been meaning to ask for ages. Grace, she says. I thought you did. And the second poem that I want to read is called New Year's Eve. And what we need to know for this one is it takes place in a cabin in the Catskills. You probably have noticed there's not been much snow these past winters, speaking of climate change. And the effects of experience and adapting to climate change actually exacerbate the traditional loss of indigenous languages brought on by settler colonialism. And the Inuit continuum of languages still spoken today has 40 to 50 words for different kinds of snow. Out of respect for these languages, I don't use the word used in indigenous languages or snow in what I will describe in the poem. The other thing is, ichor in Greek mythology is a fluid that flows like blood in the veins of gods. New Year's Eve, we almost stayed in town and missed the snow, almost missed pine branches group, reminding us of snows that said there'd be no school, when they grew deep on a childhood stucco wall. We almost didn't see hillocks of snow perched on the ledge of our cottage window, branches weighed down from morning's ivory fall. Now tiny white flags have been unfurled. silent flares lit to greet the coming year. In this time when snow's so rare, I've learned a word that isn't mine to say for this mysterious icon that's appeared in the night and that I whisper to respect the music of the moment's silence, to respect those who knew of what they spoke, those who had a specific word 4,000 years ago for softly falling snow. And the third poem I want to read is a poem about where I list terrifying facts about climate change for you, and the indifference of our vast infinite universe, and then things you might want to know for this poem. You probably know that windhovers are another name for the bird, the common kestrel. You as that man back there. I mean, you as the man back there in the purple jacket sitting on the stool. Avenger Hammer is a small town in the UK where dear friends of ours lived. We raised our children in Atlanta. Orsov is the first observed rogue interstellar comet. Our two oldest grandchildren are twins. And as the American astronomer Carl Sagan said, for small creatures such as we, the vastness is bearable only through love. Windhovers. When I look up, I remember Earth doesn't stand still, calm and reassuring, a garden in Avenger Hammer with afternoon tea and hedgerows and bees foraging. Remember the time at Six Flags over Georgia, Momo the Monsters, cars spun in the opposite direction from the ride. And I feared our 6-year-old in her blue overalls and I would fly off into space. Now another comet has invaded our solar system. Borisov is heading towards its heart. And in 100 years, the sea will crest a yard higher and a dozen islands disappear. A group of swans is called a lamentation. The stars, indifferent, masquerade as friends. Then again, last summer in Maine, you played with the twins in the waves, and our son, in his mid-40s now, did perfect handstands on the beach. So I think another thing about poetry is that it can sort of, Lucy talked about it in a very profound way, bring us together through joy and laughter. And like music, poetry can be fun. It can be in a major key. And this is a poem that uses a constraint. And the constraint is I don't use the letter E, which is the most common letter in English. And it reminded me of this thing that forms play. And this is what happened when I didn't use the letter E. It's called Joy Had No Use for E. I was 30, a country bumpkin, so brash and wild it was shocking. Drunk all day, all night, not to say I was cocky, no sir, just wildly buoyant. Man, I was chair of all boards. I was abstinent, I was badass. I was also colossally fun. As Owen, you might say. I was your North Star buddy, your alibi. I was piano, sax, mouth, soul, cat food, dog food, bird food, sugar, salt, a cloudburst. I was lion, husband, laugh, a lady. In truth, I was your sun, your moon, your Sunday nights. Month of Sundays, it was nuts, it was bananas. And Sunday was pizza day, all day. Balloons sang, so many balloons. It was on a ranch, no a farm, no in a city with its scary, fast-calling rats. Yeah. Mornings, you sang songs from musical, tangos, folk songs, classical stuff, loud, brash, drunk too. I dug your singing, dug you, your class, your pizzazz. I was happy in a giddy, foolish, Yiddish, Buddhist sort of way. Handful. Sure. Dividing lines. Can I keep going? Did anyone hear the rest?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Dividing lines. In the middle of the day, it sidles in. The sense I matter as little as the moth struggling in that spider's web. But then I remember the bumper sticker on a VW Beetle that announced kindness is my religion, and decide again to be a vegetarian and apologize to the spider. I actually washed down the drain and saved the ant in spite of its wily self. It's avoiding the store receipt. I'm using the stretcher to ferry it outside to safety, so I press the stem of broccoli into service instead. And for the last poem, I just want to, it's short, blessedly short, but it's a poem that is a cento, which is a piece of writing, especially a poem that uses only word lines or parts of lines from other writers. So this is a poem composed wholly of quotations from poets in here that was created at Copper Canyon's request for the launch of here. And it has parts of lines or lines from the poets who are in here, from their poems in here: Amy Nesfu, Kuma Tatia, Catherine Pierce, Patty Ann Rogers, Kwame Dawes, and Mark Doty. Here, listen how this planet spins with so much fin, wing, and fur, so loud with itself. Not a voice, not a message, but something like a lingering, a reggae bass line finding its melody in the mellow of the soft earth's breath. What did you think? That joy was some slight thing?
Okay, I'm going to read poems from two books, Poetry and Science, Writing Our Way to Discovery, and Birds of San Pancho, and other poems of place. So Poetry and Science is a small anthology that I edited. It has essays and poems by 5 women poets, including me. And I wanted to put this anthology together because I think it's really important to bring science into poetry. That's another way poetry can matter. It can reveal things to us in a deeper way about the concepts and ideas of science. And it's better if we all really need to take in science in every way possible in order to understand climate change, to understand health and our own bodies. In order to understand anything in the physical world, we need to know something about science. And I don't think it's just poetry where in the arts where science should be brought in. It should be in fiction, creative nonfiction, music, dance, drama. All of the arts should surround us with science. That's my opinion. So I'll read 2 of my poems from Poetry and Science. The first one is called Global Warming in the Galapagos. I had the great good fortune to visit the Galapagos Islands in 2017. 3 years without rain, and incense trees are gray, leafless in what should be the wet season. Without the trees, where will red-footed boobies with blue beaks build nests where fluffy chicks can hatch? Even prickly pear cacti, looking so much like clusters of spiny ping pong paddles, are turning brown and dying. What will happen to iguanas that eat the cacti and lava lizards that nibble lice from the iguanas' necks and backs? A warming sea also brings El Nino, with too much rain, flooding, overheated currents where penguins can't find fish, and beaches so hot that green turtle eggs can't hatch. When iguanas can no longer regulate their body temperature, giant tortoises and blue-footed boobies will gather like refugees and strike out for cooler land. And the very sad truth there is that if the Galapagos Islands become too hot for these animals, there might not be any cooler, more hospitable place for them to go. And the second poem I'll read from this book is called Lost Languages. And as I was writing this poem, I wrote my way to an understanding of the fact that the loss of languages on Earth and the loss of species are linked. It's the same forces of globalization and capitalism and habitat destruction that cause the loss of both languages and species. Lost languages. It isn't just Hittite, Trojan, and Sumerian, or even Mohegan, Yana, and Natchez, all long gone, but also the hundreds that have slipped away since 1950. while the last Madeiran large white butterfly flickered among the leaves of the Lori Silva. The last West African black rhino ran across the savannah chased by poachers after its horn, coveted by an aphrodisiac in China. And the last Javan tiger stripes rippling was poisoned, its forest habitat cleared for rice. Lucille Robideau, last surviving speaker of the Osage language in Oklahoma, died in 2005. Marie Smith Jones, last speaker of EAC, died in Alaska in 2008. Biologists say 99.9% of all species that ever existed are now extinct. Perhaps the same is true of languages. Who knows what Cro-Magnons said to one another in sickness, love, or fear? Now, so many ways of dreaming and perceiving are disappearing. But as Mojave, Comanche, Bolo, and Bison slip away, so do salmon, salamanders, rainforests, and redwoods, and even the speakers of English, Russian, and Chinese become one with the red wolf, mongoose, numbat, and tarsier in their fate. Thank you. And now I'll read 3 poems from my latest poetry collection, Birds of San Pancho and Other Poems in Place. And sticking with the environmental theme, I'm going to read one called At Lake Tahoe. Granite mountains, dense with white firs, lodgepole pines, and ponderosas, rise abruptly from the lake's blue bowl, so deep its waters could cover all of California and Nevada. The Washos, who lived here 10,000 summers, named it Lake in the Sky because it reflected clouds, sunset, and stars. They caught Lahontan trout in the lake, mountain whitefish in icy streams. On the other side of the continent, my Wampanoag ancestors were gathering cranberries, covering their summer homes with cattail mats, baking clams, drying corn, and fishing for salmon off Cape Cod. The Washos used only fallen trees for homes they would dismantle before leaving Lake in the Sky each winter. In fall, they gathered pinyon pine nuts to eat until spring. This was before white people came and cut down the pinyon pines to build their houses, dynamited the mountains in search of silver and gold, and claimed the fish. Now, a paddle boat with 3 decks takes tourists on cruises of Lake Tahoe. Yet in summer, Washos still do the pine nut dance, and Wampanoags do the grass dance to keep the world in balance and remind us that the earth is living. Every rock is sacred, and every tree and salmon has a soul. And I think all of us have a lot to learn from Indigenous peoples who've traditionally had lifestyles that are sustainable. And they also, all Indigenous cultures find that the earth, the plants, the animals, the rocks, the mountains sacred. And I think that we should all have that kind of appreciation of the natural world. And then the next poem I'm going to read is somewhat longer. It's a poem that tells a lot about Native American history. And I think that it's important to I think that's another way poetry matters. We can revisit some of the atrocities of history in order to remember them and also not to repeat them. And the name of this, the title of this poem is Names of the States. Alabama, for the Alabama tribe, forced from Alabama to Texas when white people claimed their land in 1805. Alaska, for the Aleut word Alyeska, meaning mainland, the place toward which the sea flows. Arizona, the word for small spring in the Oadam language of a Southwest desert people who couldn't vote until 1948. Arkansas, another name for the Quapaws, the downstream people who were removed to Oklahoma from their ancestral lands. Connecticut, from the Algonquian word for Long River Place. Delaware, from Baron de la Warr, Virginia's first governor whose name rechristened the local Lenni Lenape, the first tribe to sign a treaty with the US. Hawaii, for Hawaii Loa, discoverer of the islands in Polynesian myth. Idaho, maybe Shoshone, for the sun comes down the mountain, or the Apache name for the Comanches who drove them from the southern plains. Illinois, a French transliteration of the Linwi, the Ojibwe word for the Anoka, whose 13 tribes were reduced to 5 by European disease. Indiana, land of the Indians, the Delaware, Piankashaw, Kickapoo, Wea, Shawnee, Miami, and Potawatomi, who were mostly removed by 1846. Iowa, from the Dakota name for the Iowa tribe, meaning sleepy ones. Kansas, the Dakota word for the South Wind people, whose last fluent speaker of the Kansa language died in 1983. Kentucky, derived from the Iroquoian word for on the meadow. Massachusetts, people of the Great Hills, that is the Blue Hills south of Boston Harbor, who were decimated by smallpox in 1633. Michigan, from Michigamaa, great water in the language of the Ojibwe, who, like so many others, didn't understand the treaties ceding their land. Minnesota, from Minnesota, the name the Dakotas gave the Minnesota River, whose clear blue water reflected clouds. Mississippi, from Mississippi, Ojibwe for the great river along which more than 20 tribes lived and fished. Missouri for the Missouri tribe that lived on the Missouri River, a Siouan people whose name means town of the big canoes. Nebraska, from Nebraska, the Omaha word for broad water, a description of the Platte River by which the tribe lived. New Mexico, named for the Mexicas, a Nahuatl-speaking people who ruled the Aztec Empire until the Spanish conquered them in 1519. North and South Dakota, named for a Sioux tribe whose men were sentenced to death in 1862 to the largest mass execution in US history, though Dakota means friend. Ohio, from Ohio, continuously giving river in the language of the Senecas, whose land was flooded in 1965 following construction of Kanzua Dam. Oklahoma, from Oklahoma, Choctaw for brave people, a name proposed by the chief of the Choctaw Nation during treaty negotiations in 1866. Oregon, maybe from Oregon, an Algonquian word for beautiful river, but so many native words and languages have been lost that it's hard to say. Tennessee, for the Cherokee town Tanasi, a village on the Little Tennessee River until the Cherokees were marched to Oklahoma along the Trail of Tears. Texas, meaning friends or allies in the language of the Caddos, who were removed to Oklahoma in 1859. Utah, from Utahai, an Apache word meaning people of the mountains. Wisconsin, from Mesconsing, the name for the Wisconsin River in the Miami language, river running through a red place. Wyoming, a contraction of Mechiwea meeting, a Delaware word first used for a valley in Pennsylvania, meaning at the Big Plains. And yes, every part of this land is Indian country, from forest to desert, mountain to prairie, Manhattan to Yosemite, Tallahassee to Seattle, all the fields, rivers, hills, and canyons between the two shining seas. So this was a fully populated continent when the Europeans arrived here. And as it turns out, the names of 31 of the 50 states are either the names of tribes, indigenous words, or references to the indigenous people of native North America or Hawaii. And the last poem I will read is called After Catastrophe. And this is really applicable to any catastrophe, no matter what it is. After catastrophe, go to sleep. You need your dreams as much as ever, maybe more. When you wake, make yourself a cup of coffee, conscientious objector, certified fair trade and organic, a blend of Guatemalan, Ethiopian, and Sumatran beans. Do not avoid the newspaper, no matter how upsetting. You need to know what's going on. Remember that the redwood tree is still alive, even though it has fungal cankers, and you must keep pruning away infected branches. So too with society, which suffers from fear and hatred, ancient diseases that must continually be cut away. Give the plants on your deck some water. The geranium, fuchsia, and impatiens are still blooming, even though it's nearly winter. Find solace in their resilience. Then take your grandchildren to a movie, The Eagle Huntress, to remind them and yourself that the earth is gorgeous even when cold and dangerous, that societies can evolve and change, allowing a young girl in Mongolia to take on a role once filled only by men. Think about that girl with an eagle perched on her arm and ask yourself what you can do to ensure that spring will come again with all the stars in place. So thank you. And our next poet is Patricia Brody. Patricia taught English and American language at Boricua College in Washington Heights. And I'll say a little about how she came into my life. We both were members for a long time of an online poetry group called WAMPO, an organization, it's a women's poetry lister. And I've been reading her comments on there for many years, and I posted my calls for submissions for my press Scarlet Tanager books and a magazine that Revue Literaire, where I used to be on the editorial board. Patricia blessed me with the submissions of her poems, and so I've had the opportunity of publishing several of her poems through the years. So, and she, like these other poets reading with me, is an amazing poet. She became a Heights citizen in 2010 when she first walked through the door of the first Word Up bookstore. Patricia practiced family therapy in New York City for 30 years while raising 3 children with her artist husband, Tom Costro. And that one of them, Cody, is doing the live streaming for us tonight. Thank you, Cody. My Blazing World is Patricia's second collection from Salmon Poetry. Her earlier books are Dangerous to Know, Poems in the Voices of Forgotten Women Artists and Writers, and American Desire, which won Finishing Line's 2009 New Women's Voices Award. Via Zoom, Patricia now teaches Seeking Your Voice, Women Writing Poetry and Memoir, a course that originated at Barnard College Center for Research on Women. So welcome, Patricia.
Thank you, Lucy. Oops. It's funny how these, whoops, I don't think I'm going to use this now. These relationships develop and you get to know a person perhaps more intimately over online than you would if you shared a closer space, lived in the same city. This group, the group in this room tonight is kind of remarkable. Lucy's from Northern California. And Elizabeth is from New York, and I'm from New York. And Alicia is probably from New York too. So the touch of California in here is important. Lucy and I also met for the first time in person at AWP this past March. And here she is in New York. I'm not even positive how you found your way up to Word Up, but I know it wasn't someone recommended it. So I'm very glad. My first thank you then is to Word Up. I think we caused them more trouble than they possibly could have caused us. I walked in, as others have said, to the little storefront that they opened literally around the corner from where we had moved in 2010. There were no bookstores up here. And I was so thankful to find a bookstore. And I walked in, and the person behind the desk, who was the founder, Veronica, turned out we had another link in common because she was a Barnard alum. My daughter, at the time we moved up, who's sitting near her brother in the back, my children are great supporters. I couldn't do any of this without them. There's another child too, but I think he's here on the internet. Anyway, Katrina was then a student at Barnard. And soon after, I was teaching at their women's center. And then I had already come and gone from City College, where I went back to school at the teenage year of 50. I went back to school and a whole new world opened up to me. I thought Marilyn Hacker was coming tonight. She said she was, so I'm sad that she didn't make it, but she was supposed to come.
Watching.
Oh, good. Okay. Hi, Marilyn. And I was going to give a shout out to both. It was Marilyn. Okay. So Barry Wallenstein, who's sitting in the corner right here, is a mentor. He and Marilyn were the directors of the creative writing program in approximately 2000. I sent a very crude manuscript. They both seemed to like it enough to let me in. And it changed my life. And I'm so appreciative for those of you, for you, Barry, to be here tonight, and others who are here. Thank you for coming, and whoever's online, thank you for coming. Lucy, again, I just want to shout out, not only is she the poet, publisher of a small press. Am I talking too loud?
No.
Okay. But she also, I had the pleasure of attending a remarkable event last Thursday night down at the Museum of Jewish Heritage, where I had never been. I got hopelessly lost down in the Battery, because I don't know if you all know this, they're planning to knock down most of the buildings down there, like the old ferry and stuff like that. And then they're going to raise it up to make it hurricane proof. So I think they're going to knock down a lot, but they're going to raise it up. So, but it's hard to find your way around because they've taken away some of the park. However, it was a beautiful evening, and the occasion was the publication by Scarlett Tanager, Lucy's Press, of a book called Hamlet's Children. And it is about a Danish rescue during World War II that is, none of us knew about this. How would we know about this? But the man who is the author, Richard Kluger, is actually a Pulitzer Prize winning writer for nonfiction and fiction. And he could not find a publisher for Hamlet's Children, although all his other books had been snapped up by major publishing houses. Lucy leapt. He sent her, they know each other in Oakland. So he somehow showed her his manuscript, and Lucy took the chance and decided to publish it. So I want to recommend that you all look for the book and learn more about it. There's also a tremendous exhibit down there at the Museum of Jewish Heritage about this rescue by the Danes. I think it's timely, once again, as more and more wars and so forth break out. So yeah, I wanted to shout out to Lucy. She's been a tremendous friend and colleague to me. And I would mention other things that are interesting about her, but I think I'll leave that to her to publicize. But look for her books, they are remarkable. Then I did want to again shout out to Marilyn Hacker, who I thought was going to be here, but she is, because it was through Marilyn that I met Alicia, who came to read at City College in approximately 2000. I think it was before 9/11. And I was so taken because women then were not really permitted to write about their families or children or the so-called domestic. So Alicia, I remember distinctly, because my children were still quite young, read poems that included her daughter and poems about love, marriage, and her daughter. I remember that. And I can still see Alicia with her scarf flung back. And that was in approximately 2000. I will now turn to the poems. Oh, I also want to send a real hug out to my son, Cody Castro, who unstintingly tries to help me with these readings and does the tech, which I can't do. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Cody. And Katrina, thank you for being here. You've both been the greatest. Katrina went to medical school around the corner from here. This area, when we moved in 2010, was all brand new to us, and it's changed so dramatically in the last 13 years. It's quite a neighborhood, really. So the first poem that I will read, actually, of course, I changed my selection several times since I walked in the door. This is called, and the reason why is it mentions the Heights, and I didn't even remember that until I was preparing before. It's called Imagine Birth, and it's okay, the mic and everything? Okay. I have two poems called Imagine Birth. I'm only going to read this one. They're both in my book, My Blazing World. And there's a line from the other one I will say, imagine birth so light and clean. Oh, and Elizabeth, you mentioned New Year's Eve, and here's this. Consoling on the last eve of a terse year to find a new 600-year-old version of the Annunciation. Netherlands in the Heights beside the lordly Hudson. Overhead, tones scholarly and soothing drift across medieval halls. Seeking respite from December's cold blast, awed disciples move in close to catch the speaker's revelation. Holy infant, who can find him aloft in his little milky glow of womb and cross between two windows? He surfs in on 7 rays of divine light, says the scholar, who points to an ivory candle in its 15th century sconce on the cloister wall, then to its twin on the pregnant virgin's dining table. The same doubling for the low beamed ceiling brought from Spain over our mortal heads and over Mary, serene in her painted scene, delicate hands arched medievally above her robed belly. Her fingers barely press her book, which surely announces the event now floating through her kitchen window. No cry passes her mysterious lips, no pang of labor or terror. I should have mentioned that, of course, this refers to a beautiful triptych in the cloisters, which is a very few blocks up from here, Again, the cloisters, a magical place that the Heights boasts, where you can go to find the most extraordinary medieval art collection. It's just an amazing place. And that was based on my falling in love with this triptych, which I believe is from the 1600s, maybe earlier. I have an extensive footnotes in the back of this book, which explains any references I make that might not be clear to everybody. And a friend of mine who's not from New York said she read my poems, she read the book, and she needed a guide, a study guide to understand the poems. So at least I have some footnotes in the back. Also, a theme that you will hear in these poems is either being a woman, motherhood, the oppression of women, and, you know, their buried voices. The next poem is, oh, okay, good. You can read this one. Now, I have two poems in this collection, which were inspired by classes taught by Alicia Ostriker on Midrash, or my understanding, it was women reinterpreting the scripture. And I wrote this, Alicia would read a passage from Genesis or another book. I think I was always in Genesis though. This is a book in the voice of Sarah, that early woman who, well, I'll just read what happens toward the end of her life. This is called Sarah from Below. The myrrh drifts up and up. My scent will carry to the thorniest trees, then all of time. Hard to know what the field where I now slip off to sleep. Well, I'm not quite gone. And this deep room would fetch on the open market. Am I supposed to know? I am all goods, all services, laid out in my long, bright bone, my windy shroud. So lay me here, Lord, Lord and Master, child and winding sheet. I travel in your soil, in your hands. That which you command, both of you, my mystery men, my masters, I obeyed, down to the shriek of childbirth in old age. Didn't I? Didn't I? Down in the grass, wind swept, trampled, I face from under, up. I heard you count the change. You have earned me rightly, you say. Now turn me, return me to my cave of stars, where I stay and go. From your hands, daughters, I might bear this land, this land. Can somebody give me a heads up when I have like 5 minutes left?
Yeah, you're 5 minutes.
Okay, so let me decide. I can't read Byron poems tonight. I have a wonderful visitor from my American Byron Society who has been a dear friend and fan since we first met only a few months ago. I made my early poems more or less about the British Romantics, but they're not here tonight, but they're here in spirit. So I'll read two more poems then. Okay, I think this one's important. All right. I called it, my mother died. This is not about my mother. Well, it is. My mother died a little over a year ago, and my sister died only a few months ago. And I have a lot of poems to them, but this is different. It's called, and the reason I'm holding the book up is because it goes like this. It's run-on. It's a run-on title. It's called Wars and Mothers and Mothers and Wars and Mothers and Wars and Mothers and Wars and Mothers and Wars. My mother died Russia invaded Ukraine. One thing, nothing to do with the other. This was not the first invasion. Babies born, their eyes wide open. Mothers clutch their children close. I think my mother has flown into the book because there's a little bug and I'm trying to shake them away. Oh, this is kind of a pantoum, folks, for those who are interested. Mothers clutch their children close. New maniac is on the loose. Slate blue to black, our baby's eyes. She couldn't swallow a drop of juice. The maniac is on the loose. She clenched her teeth against the spoon. No longer could she drink clear water. Her high, sharp bones, her straggling hair, drooping lids, howling mouth. Tribe and color measure mercy. Mongol bones, tangled hair, who to let in, who to keep out. Tribe or color measure mercy. We too barred from every shore, who to let in, who to keep out. They stripped them, shot them down to the pit. The other barred from every shore. Children's blood spills into the sea. Soldiers played catch with someone's baby, crying, "Mama," who can't answer. Full circle, ghosts of Babi Yar. Soft skinned babies close their eyes. No poem blocks the blood-cursed bullet. Mother died, the war broke out. So I'll stop there. I wanted to read another one, which you can find in the other book, which was about a wonderful figure who may not have been from uptown, but she was a New York figure. Her name was Althea Gibson, and she was the first African-American, that's what they called her back then, first Black woman Grand Slam Wimbledon winner, champion. And I wrote a poem about her when I read the obituary about her so many years ago in the New York Times. I think she was friends with I think she played tennis with David Dinkins. But anyway, please look for it. And do buy books after the reading, please, of everyone. Thank you so much, Lucy and Word Up.
Thank you, Patricia. And our final poet tonight is one of my oldest and dearest poet friends, Alicia Ostriker. We've known each other for 50 years.
Wow.
And I joined the Berkeley Poets Co-op in 1972, was a member in the 70s. And when Alicia had her sabbatical from Rutgers, and it must have been your first sabbatical because we were pretty young then, she came to Berkeley from 1973 to 1974 and came to the workshops and readings of the Berkeley Poets Co-op.
Which was a blessing.
Yeah, and then having you there was a blessing for us too. So it worked both ways. So let's see here. Okay, Alicia, she has a new poetry collection coming out, The Holy and Broken Bliss, Poems in Plague Time, and that will be published in 2024. And she has published 19 previous collections of poetry, been twice nominated for the National Book Award, and has twice received the National Jewish Book Award for poetry, among other honors. As a critic, she is the author of the now classic Stealing the Language, The Emergence of Women's Poetry in America. Her most recent collections of poems are Waiting for the Light and The Volcanoes and After, Selected and New Poems 2002 to 2019. She was New York State Poet Laureate from 2018 to 2021 and a Chancellor of the American Academy of Poets 2015 to 2020. She lives with her husband on the Upper West Side. Glad you're here, Alicia. Bring this down.
Always walk out. So how's that for sound?
Very good.
Yes, okay. I want to thank everybody who has been a part of bringing us here all together. Lucy is amazing as an organizer of people and poets and love. Bravo. Everything she does is designed to be some kind of blessing in a space in this world. Thank you. And thanks to everybody, and thanks to the bookstore and everyone connected with it. This is a beautiful spot. I've never been here. I'll be back. You know, I'm looking hungrily at the books. But when I was asking myself, well, why does poetry matter? One line that came to me, I don't know who said this, but it's worth remembering, that poetry comforts the afflicted and afflicts the comfortable. Poetry matters because it is able in easily memorable ways to strike deep into people's experiences and hearts and what they didn't know they knew. And I'll just one other quote. This one, I know the author is Muriel Rukeyser, a poem called Islands. How many of you know that poem? Well, now you will. This is just 3 lines, and if you don't take anything else away from this wonderful evening, take these 3 lines. It's called Islands, and I think it's Muriel Rukeyser's answer to a 19th century poem by Matthew Arnold, saying that everyone is an island, and we can't communicate with each other. It's a beautiful poem, but that's alienation is what it's all about. And it ends with a beautiful line: the unplumbed salt, estranging sea. You know, it's very hopeless. And Muriel's poem Islands begins with these 3 lines, which are really all you need ever. Title: Islands. Oh, for God's sake, they are connected underneath. And whenever I say that, I see, you know, I can see the words and the meaning entering into people, and they go, you know, and it makes everyone smile. So we are all connected at the sea bottom, and that is the sea bottom of our souls, of our biographies, of our biologies, where we are all connected, and that's what makes poetry possible, and that's what makes poetry necessary, to remind us. So I have found myself over the years writing a lot about war. And this first poem I'm going to read, it's a pretty long poem. It's called The 8th and 13th, and that's the 8th and 13th Symphonies of Shostakovich, which some of you may be familiar with.
The Eighth Symphony was written after the siege of Leningrad in World War II, which ended with the death of 3 million people, I think. Maybe it was 6 million. What did the poem say? I've forgotten. Yes, 3 million dead after the siege of Leningrad for this and that reason. The poem is about the symphony, and the symphony is powerful and tragic, and Stalin allowed it to be performed only once in Shostakovich's lifetime because it wasn't uplifting enough. It wasn't cheerful. Then sometime later, Shostakovich composed the 13th Symphony, which is about Babi Yar, which Patricia just included in a poem of hers. Babi Yar was the place where some 30,000 Jews were shot and laid to rest in a gorge. Again, a powerful poem, and what my mind, which is one word in Hebrew, lev means, a lev is the heart, the mind, both. That Shostakovich is not just a great composer, but that he was able to compose a powerful, stirring symphony dedicated to the lost lives of his own people, Russians, and then write a symphony equally powerful, equally significant, dedicated to the lost lives of those who were still hated in Russia, the Jews. And I keep thinking, that's what God or whoever gives us imagination for. To identify not only with our own self and our own people, but to identify with the other. So here comes this poem, and in two places I quote Shostakovich's autobiography, which some people think was not written by him, but it has so much the same spirit as his music that I trust it. The 8th and 13th. The 8th of Shostakovich, music about the worst horror history offers. They played on public radio again last night. In solitude, I sipped my wine. I drank that somber symphony to the vile leaves. The composer draws out the minor thirds. The brass tumbles overhead like virgin logs felled from their forest, washing down river and the rivermen at song. Like ravens who know when meat is in the offing, oboes form a ring, an avalanche of iron violins. At Leningrad, during the years of siege, between bombardment, hunger, and 3 sub-freezing winters, 3 million dead were born out of Christ's bloody side, like icy fetuses. For months, one could not bury them. The earth and they alike were adamant. The dead were stacked like sticks until May's mud, when, of course, there was pestilence. But the music continues. It has no other choice. Peer in as far as you like. It stays exactly as bleak as now. The composer opens his notebook. Tyrants like to present themselves as patrons of the arts. That's a well-known fact. But tyrants understand nothing about art. Why? Because tyranny is a perversion and a tyrant is a pervert. He is attracted by the chance to crush people, to mock them, stepping over corpses. And so, having satisfied his perverted desires, the man becomes a leader. And now the perversions continue because power has to be defended against madness like yourself. For even if there are no such enemies, you have to invent them, because otherwise you can't flex your muscles completely. You can't oppress the people completely, making the blood spurt. And without that, what pleasure is there in power? The composer looks out the door of his dacha. It's April. He watches farm children at play. He forgets nothing. For the 13th, I slip its cassette into my car radio. They made Kiev's Jews undress after a march to the suburb, shot the hesitant quickly, battered some of the lame, and screamed at everyone. Valises were taken, would not be needed, packed so abruptly, tied with such frayed rope. Soldiers next killed a few more. The living ones, penises of the men like infant mice, breasts of the women bobbling as at athletics, were told to run through a copse to where, wet with saliva, the ravine opened her mouth. Marksmen shot the remainder then, there, by the tens of thousands, cleverly so that bodies toppled in without lugging. An officer strode upon the dead, shot what stirred. How it would feel, such uneasy footing, even wearing boots that caressed one's calves, leather and lamb's wool, the sole's thick rubber. Such the music's patient inquiry. What then is the essence of reality, of the good? The mind's fuse sputters, the heart aborts, it smells like wet ashes, the hands lift to cover their eyes. Only the music continues. We'll try. For the first movement, a full chorus, the immediate reverse of Beethoven, an axe between the shoulder blades of Herr Wagner. People knew about Babi Yar before Yevtushenko's poem, but they were silent. And when they read the poem, the silence was broken. Art destroys silence. I know that many will not agree with me and will point out other, more noble aims of art. They'll talk about beauty, grace, and other high qualities. But you won't catch me with that bait. I'm like Sobakevich in Dead Souls. You can sugarcoat a toad and I still won't put it in my mouth. Most of my symphonies are tombstones, said Shostakovich. Poets are Jews, said Tsvetava. The words never again clashing against the words again and again. That music.
Oh, poetry matters.
We hope so. Now, another war closer to our memory, the war against Iraq, which is already the dim and distant past. There's been so much since then. Now we have two wars going on at the same time. But this one is called Daffodils. And it has two epigraphs. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. That's William Wordsworth of blessed memory. And two other lines, going into hell so many times tears it, which explains poetry. And that's Jack Spicer. Hello, California. The day the war against Iraq begins, I'm photographing the yellow daffodils with their outstretched arms and ruffled caps, blowing in the wind of Jesus green, edging the lush, grassy, moving river, along with the swans and ducks under a soft March Cambridge sky, embellishing the earth like a hand starting to illustrate a children's book, where people in light clothes come out to play, to act out the journey of new life with their lovers, friends, animals, and children. As down every stony back road of history, they've always done in the peaceful springs. Which in a sense is also hell, because the daffodils do look as if they dance and make some of us in the park want to dance and breathe deeply. And I know that being able to eat and incorporate beauty like this, I am privileged. And by that token can taste pain, roll it on my tongue. It's good. The cruel wars are good. The stupidity is good. The primates hiding in their caves are very good. They do their best, which explains poetry. What explains poetry is that life is hard, but better than the alternatives, the no and the nothing. Look at this light and color, a splash of brilliant yellow punctuating a bright green text, white swans and mottled brown ducks floating quietly along, whole and alive, like an untorn language that lacks nothing, that excludes nothing, period. Don't you think it is our business to defend it, even the day our masters start a war, to defend the day we see the daffodils? I'll just read one more poem. This is a ghazal, an Arabic form in which it comes in couplets, and with the last word of the opening becomes the last word of every couplet. America the Beautiful. Do you remember our earnestness, our sincerity in first grade when we learned to sing America the Beautiful along with the Star-Spangled Banner and say the Pledge of Allegiance to America? We put our hands over our first grade hearts. We felt proud to be citizens of America. I said, one nation invisible, until corrected. Maybe I was right about America. School days, dear old golden rule days, when we learned how to behave in America, what to wear, how to smoke, how to despise our parents who didn't understand us or America. Only later learning the banner and the beautiful live on opposite sides of the street in America. Only later discovering the nation is divisible by money, by power, by color, by gender, by sex. America. We comprehend it now, This land is two lands. One triumphant bully, one still hopeful America. Sometimes I still put my hand tenderly on my heart, somehow or other still carried away by America. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, poets, for those amazing, profound poems. This was really just fantastic. And thank you again to Word Up and everyone in the audience. And the poets do have books for sale here. And so I hope that you want to support the poets and the bookstore and get a book.
Thank you.